Most people are terrified of being alone, not because solitude is painful, but because silence removes distractions, and distractions have become emotional anesthesia. The average person wakes up and immediately reaches for stimulation, notifications, messages, videos, music, podcs, news, social, media, anything to avoid being alone with their own mind. Because the moment the noise disappears, something uncomfortable emerges. Thoughts, doubts, fears, unresolved. Emotions, questions they've been avoiding for years. Most people believe isolation is dangerous because it creates loneliness. In reality, strategic isolation reveals dependence. Dependence on approval, dependence on validation, dependence on constant stimulation, dependence on the presence of other people to regulate emotional stability. And that dependence creates weakness because anything you depend on can control you. The operator understands this. A mind that requires external reinforcement to remain stable is not free. A mind that requires applause to continue operating is vulnerable. A mind that requires constant connection to maintain emotional balance is exposed. That is why strategic isolation is not punishment. It is training. Not social withdrawal. Not escapism. Not hiding from life. Training. A deliberate process designed to remove external support systems and reveal the true condition of the mind. Because when the noise disappears, reality remains. And reality is often uncomfortable. Many people spend years constructing an identity based on external feedback. They know who they are when people are watching. They know who they are when people are approving. They know who they are when they receive recognition, but remove the audience, and the identity begins to shake. Why? Because it was never self-generated. It was socially generated. Built from reactions. Built from validation. Built from comparison. Built from approval. The moment those sources disappear, uncertainty emerges, and uncertainty reveals dependency. This is where the training begins. Imagine placing a person inside a room with no entertainment. No phone. No music. No conversation. No stimulation. Just silence. Most people assume this sounds peaceful. The reality is often very different. At first, the nervous system becomes restless. The brain begins searching for stimulation. The mind starts generating noise to compensate for the missing noise outside. Old memories appear, regrets emerge, future anxieties arrive. Internal dialogue accelerates. Many people discover something shocking. Their greatest source of stress isn't the outside world. It's the conversation happening inside their own head. For years, they blamed circumstances. Jobs, relationships, finances, environment, then silence reveals the truth. The battlefield has been internal all along. This realization changes everything, because now the objective is no longer escaping discomfort. The objective becomes observing it. Most civilians spend their lives attempting to eliminate discomfort. Elite performers study it. They observe it. They examine it. They become familiar with it. Because what is familiar becomes manageable, and what is manageable loses power. This is one of the hidden advantages of solitude. It creates psychological exposure therapy, the same way repeated physical stress develops physical resilience. Repeated exposure to internal discomfort develops emotional resilience. The first time you're alone with your thoughts, the experience may feel overwhelming. The 10th time becomes easier. The 100th time becomes normal. Eventually silence stops feeling threatening. Eventually stillness stops feeling uncomfortable. Eventually your own mind becomes a stable environment instead of a hostile one, and that is a rare form of strength. Most people never achieve it because every time discomfort appears, they immediately escape. A notification, a conversation, a screen, a distraction, a stimulus. Anything to avoid facing themselves, but avoidance has a cost. Every avoided emotion remains unresolved. Every avoided fear remains active. Every avoided insecurity remains operational. Nothing disappears. It simply moves. Underground. And underground problems tend to grow. Strategic isolation forces them into the open, not to destroy you. Asterisk to reveal you, to show you exactly where your emotional vulnerabilities exist, and vulnerabilities cannot be strengthened until they are identified. This is why silence functions like a psychological mirror. It reflects reality. Not the reality you present to others. The reality you experience internally. The version nobody sees. The version that determines your behavior under pressure. Because pressure always reveals the truth. And pressure becomes much easier to manage when you understand your own internal terrain. Think about it. How can you control a mind you've never studied? How can you regulate emotions you've never observed? How can you develop discipline if you've never witnessed the mechanisms of your own resistance? Strategic isolation answers these questions. By removing external interference. By reducing noise. By creating psychological clarity. Clarity is a weapon. A person who understands himself becomes significantly harder to manipulate. Why? Because manipulation often depends on unconscious emotional triggers. Fear. Validation. Status. Approval. Belonging. The more unconscious these drivers remain, the easier they are to exploit, but solitude exposes them. You begin noticing patterns. You notice how much of your behavior is driven by approval. You notice how often your mood depends on external events. You notice how frequently your confidence rises and falls according to the opinions of others. And once awareness appears, freedom becomes possible. Not automatic. Possible. Because awareness creates choice. Without awareness, there's only reaction. Most people react. Few people choose. The objective of emotional dominance is not emotional suppression. This is a common misunderstanding. Emotional suppression creates fragility. Emotional mastery creates stability. There's a difference. Suppressing emotions means pretending they don't exist. Mastering emotions means understanding them without being controlled by them. Strategic isolation accelerates this process. Not because solitude magically creates strength. Because solitude removes excuses. In social environments, people can blame circumstances. They can blame interruptions. They can blame other people. In solitude, there is nowhere to hide. Only observation, only awareness. Only responsibility. And responsibility is where power begins. A person who takes responsibility for his internal state becomes dangerous in the best possible way. Not dangerous to others. Asterisk. Dangerous to chaos. Dangerous to manipulation. Dangerous to fear. Dangerous to emotional instability, because he no longer requires favorable conditions to remain operational. Most people operate well when conditions are ideal. The true test is different. Can you remain focused when nobody is encouraging you? Can you remain disciplined when nobody is watching? Can you remain stable when nobody is validating you? Can you remain committed when recognition disappears? This is where character reveals itself. Not in public. In private. Not when observed. When alone. The strongest identities are forged away from audiences. Away from applause. Away from recognition. Away from external rewards. Because identities built in isolation become self-sustaining. They generate their own momentum, their own standards, their own direction, their own stability, and that stability becomes a competitive advantage in a world addicted to external stimulation. The modern environment rewards dependency, constant connectivity, constant feedback. Constant engagement, constant noise. Very few people ever disconnect long enough to discover who they are without it, which means very few people ever develop true emotional sovereignty. Sovereignty means self-governance. Self-command. Self-direction. The ability to maintain order internally regardless of external conditions. This is the ultimate objective of strategic isolation. Not loneliness. Not withdrawal. Not separation from humanity. Preparation for a world filled with distraction, manipulation, emotional volatility, and constant psychological pressure. Silence becomes the training ground. Solitude becomes the laboratory. Isolation becomes the forge, and inside that forge, something powerful emerges. A person who no longer needs constant reassurance, a person who no longer fears stillness, a person who no longer depends on external validation to maintain self-worth, a person who can sit alone with his own thoughts and remain stable. Operational. Focus. Calm. That person becomes extremely difficult to break, because emotional dominance is not built through comfort. It is built through confrontation. The confrontation with your own mind. The confrontation with your own fears. The confrontation with your own dependency on noise. Most people spend their lives running from that confrontation. The few who embrace it discover something extraordinary. Silence was never the enemy. Solitude was never the enemy. Isolation was never the enemy. The enemy was dependency. Dependency on distraction. Dependency on validation. Dependency on external regulation. And once those dependencies are removed, something remarkable happens. That your center of gravity moves inward. Your stability becomes internal. Your confidence becomes internal. Your discipline becomes internal. Your identity becomes internal. And when that happens, the outside world loses much of its power over you, because the war for emotional control can only be won from the inside. The collective is noisy. The crowd is unstable. Public opinion changes constantly. Trends rise and collapse. Approval comes and goes. Validation appears and disappears. But a disciplined mind remains. A trained mind remains. A sovereign mind remains. So here's the challenge for the next 7 days. Deliberately create periods of strategic isolation. No entertainment. No. Scrolling. No distractions. No. Noise. Just you and your thoughts. Observe what appears. Observe what makes you uncomfortable. Observe what your mind attempts to avoid. Because hidden within that discomfort is valuable intelligence about yourself. Intelligence about your weaknesses. Intelligence about your dependencies. And that intelligence is the first step toward emotional dominance. The battlefield is not out there. It never was. The battlefield is within. And solitude is where the training begins.